Good evening. On behalf of the Sampson County Board of Commissioners, it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's presentation of our new strategic plan for economic development. As a lifelong resident of Sampson County, I know firsthand how important it is to keep our economy strong, our community vibrant, and our future bright. Economic development isn't just about attracting new business. It's about building opportunities for our people, creating good paying jobs, and growing the kind of tax base that allows us to invest in schools, public safety, infrastructure, and the quality of life we all hold in value. That is why earlier this year, our board took decisive action to launch a strategic planning process. We recognized the needs for a clear, actionable roadmap, one that positions Sampson County to compete, attract new investment, and strengthen our non-residential tax base. By doing so, we can help relieve pressure on homeowners and property taxpayers while ensuring our county has the resources to provide essential services and amenities for generations to come. This plan is a result of months of hard work by our dedicated steering committee, the Economic Development Advisory Board, Sampson County staff, our partners at Creative Economic Development Consulting, and the hundreds of residents who took time to share their thoughts and ideas. This has truly been a community effort. Tonight, we see the accumulation of our work. I encourage you to listen closely, ask questions, and consider the role of each of us play in making and planning the reality for this decision for making tonight. You all know that I farm. I have a deep love for the land. I have an even deeper love for this county. I'd like to share a timeless quote that reminds us of some things that goes on as we move into this process, that we should be patient, deliberate in our actions. But long before all this happens, it takes a while for us to see the reality of what we are putting together before it becomes visible. The quote goes, "It takes a wise man to plant an oak tree, knowing he will likely never sit under its shade." Economic development is not a sprint, it's a marathon. A marathon of vision, persistence, and collaboration. It often requires years of planning, investment, and unwavering commitment. The seed we sow today may take decades to bear fruit, but they will shape the landscape of the opportunity for generations to come. The future prosperity of Sampson County depends on the choices we make today. That's why your Board of Commissioners is deeply committed to working hand in hand with our municipalities, business leaders, citizens, county staff, all to bring this plan to life. We have a great place to live. We have true values, and we have our heritage, a great tradition, our people, and the spirit that makes Sampson County truly special. But honoring the past doesn't mean standing still. It means building upon the foundations to create a future that reflects our highest hopes while preserving our core values. We already have a strong economy, but together we can make it stronger, more resilient, more inclusive, and more full of opportunity. Economic development is a long and deliberated journey. It requires vision, patience, and the courage to begin today, knowing the greatest rewards may come years down the road. The work we begin now is not just for us. It's for our children, our grandchildren, and generations yet to come. So tonight we ask you for your support. Help us move forward with purpose and unity. Planting the seeds of prosperity today so that Sampson County will continue to thrive tomorrow. Let us move forward with purpose, knowing the work we do today is not just for us, but for those who will one day sit beneath the shade of the oak trees we plant. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being part of shaping Sampson County's future. Before we move on into our strategic planning stuff, I would like to invite Mr. Alan Van. He's our new county manager, and he's got a few words he would like to share.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to raise the mic back up now.
It's all right.
All seriousness, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, members of the audience. Once again, my name is Alan Van, and I appreciate the privilege of being selected as county manager for Sampson County. I thank the board members for placing their trust and confidence in me during this very pivotal time during Sampson County's history. By now, most everyone knows that I'm originally from the Clement community in Sampson County. I grew up on Carroll Swell Road and attended Midway High School. Of course, I have family and friends in the county, and naturally, I'm very happy to return home. Sampson County has always held a special place in my heart, and now I'm able to give back by doing all I can to improve the lives of our citizens through the shared vision of our Board of Commissioners. Now, when I stepped into this role, I had the benefit of inheriting a strategic planning process that was already underway, launched earlier this year by the Sampson County Board of Commissioners. That was no small decision. It was a bold step to ensure Sampson County is not just keeping pace, but leading when it comes to economic growth. The board recognized that a healthy economy doesn't happen by chance. It takes vision, planning, and a commitment to invest in our future. By approving this process, they made it clear they want Sampson County positioned to compete, attract new investment, and strengthen our non-residential tax base so we can provide the services and quality of life our citizens expect and deserve. Tonight's presentation of the strategic plan is the product of months of work by the steering committee, the Economic Development Advisory Board, county staff, our consulting team, and hundreds of residents who shared their ideas. But it started with the foresight of your board to make this effort a top priority. Now it's our responsibility to work together, the board, our municipalities, our business leaders, and our citizens to bring this plan to life. Thank you for being here tonight and supporting a vision that can help shape Sampson County for future generations. And at this time, I would like to invite Chuck Spell to the podium for comments and introduction of tonight's speaker.
Good evening. It is my privilege as the chair of the Sampson County Economic Development Advisory Board to welcome you to this very important occasion. I've had the honor of serving on this board for many years, and I can tell you that what we're sharing tonight is a result of the process that began under the leadership of my predecessor, Gary McHarry, who served as chair before me. His dedication and guidance helped us set the stage for work that we're celebrating this evening. As you have heard earlier this year, the Sampson County Board of Commissioners gave their approval for the Sampson County Economic Development to embark on a comprehensive effort to develop a new strategic plan. This initiative reflects the board's strong commitment to creating a clear and actionable roadmap for our county's long-term economic prosperity. To guide us through the process, we partnered with Creative Economic Development Consulting, a team with a proven track record in research, analysis, and best practices in economic development. A plan of this scope and importance takes dedicated leadership, and we were fortunate to have a steering committee of 9 outstanding community leaders from across Sampson County who met frequently over the past 5 months. I'd like to take a moment to recognize them. Mr. Alan McClam, Chair of Sampson County Board of Commissioners, Dr. Linda Brunson, Board Chair, Clinton City Schools Board of Education, Mr. Gary McGarry, President and owner of Mary Mac's Incorporated. Ms. Catherine Izell Joyner, President, Izell Trucking. Mr. Bill Scott, Sampson County Economic Development Advisory Board member and Chairman of Clinton Downtown Initiatives. Dr. Bill Starling, President, Sampson Community College. Mr. Dickey Waters, Town Commissioner, Town of Salemburg. Mr. Craig Warren, Mayor, Town of Newton Grove. And myself representing the Economic Development Board, Clinton 100 Committee, and Hogsland. I also would like to recognize the members of the Sampson County Economic Development Advisory Board at this time. If you're here, if you would please stand to be recognized. But most importantly, we would like to thank you at our community. More than 400 residents participated through in-person workshops, one-on-one interviews, and online surveys, ensuring that the voices of our citizens are truly reflected in the vision of our future. This level of engagement is what makes this a community-driven vision. Tonight is the culmination of all that hard work, and it is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Crystal Morphus, President of Creative Economic Development Consulting, who will lead us through the presentation of our new strategic plan. Following Crystal's remarks, there will be time for questions or comments. After the Q&A, it will be requested that the Sampson County Board of Commissioners consider formal adoption of the plan, a step that will further demonstrate their commitment to this vision and to working together collaboratively to expand opportunity and create an economic prosperity for our county and all who call it home.
Thank you. It's good to see everyone. Ray Jordan had said there were over 80 people signed up for this event. That is outstanding to see the interest in this community in economic development and making Sampson County a better place. As I look across the room, I see a lot of familiar faces of people who participated in the strategic planning process, either through interviews or through sessions that we've had here in this room earlier. I want to recognize my colleague, Heather Beard. Raise your hand, Heather. Many of you probably talked to Heather through the interview process. She and all of our team worked on the strategic plan, but Heather's another person that interacted with many of you. And so a couple of folks have talked about the steering committee that we... Okay. The steering committee that there we go. Great. Introducing the steering committee. Now, these are folks, leaders in the community that put a lot of effort into the strategic plan, but it's been mentioned over 400 people in Sampson County had input into this plan. That is remarkable. We do strategic planning for lots of small and rural places, and it's sometimes very hard to get people engaged in planning processes. But the fact that we've had so many people, you can be assured that this plan is reflective of a wide group of interests across the county and had a lot of people behind it and supporting it. But make sure as you break this evening that you talk to some of these folks and just tell them thank you for the work that they have put into this strategic plan. So talk about the planning process and what went into it. And I'm going to hit the highlights of these throughout my presentation. A lot of research. So when we look at the quantitative view of how Sampson County has been changing over the last several years, it's important for us to take a look at the economic and demographic profile. I'll share some highlights of that. We had in this room a summit, a workshop to kick it off. Several of you participated in that. So hopefully you'll see some of the comments that you made at that session reflective in the strategic plan. I want to go over vision and mission. It's so very important to have a clear and concise vision and have consensus in the community for that vision to go forward. We also looked at what we call product and economic development. That's your sites and buildings inventory. Every business needs a place. Whether you're a large company or a small company, whether you're a small business that's growing, whether you're what we call a solopreneur, a one-person entrepreneur, solopreneur, you all need a place. And so we looked at product. Talent is the most important driver of economic development today. because of the very tight labor market that we've been experiencing. Every company needs a qualified workforce, whether you need one person or whether you need 100. So we looked at the talent pipeline. We also looked at your economic development program and operations and asked, how can it have the capacity to implement the strategic plan? And then we're here today at the launch. So a lot of the information that you provide in the strategic plan fed into a SWOT, or strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. So in strategic planning, we take an asset-based approach. That means building upon the assets and opportunities of the community, but then also how do we address the weaknesses and the threats that are on the horizon. So this shouldn't be news to you as you are living and working in Sampson County, but I'll call out as an outsider some things that stood out to me. Your location in North Carolina, your location on the East Coast is a really good location for a wide range of business sectors. Of course, transportation access, that's very important to companies, not just to get their product in and out, but for their workforce as well. The community college, think about the community college system across North Carolina, and then you have a very good community college here. If employees' talent are the #1 concern of business, then having a really strong way to train and educate the workforce of the future is important, so the community college stands out. You have a proximity to ports, which is a really unique feature on the East Coast. And you have a lot of natural beauty and a wonderful, wonderful aspects and the reasons you like to live here and call this home. Under the weaknesses side, population has been declining, which means the workforce has been declining. That's not sustainable if you think about it over the long term. You've got an aging population. This is not unique to Sampson County. A lot of rural places and small places we work in really struggle to retain young people and to get new people to move there. But what you end up with a declining population is a reduced labor force over time. Companies want to see a strong pipeline of workers for the future. You also struggle quite a bit with infrastructure, water and wastewater service, especially to areas that could be opportunities for development. So again, think about the things that companies would need, not only transportation access, but utilities. And available workforce, I mentioned that as well. If we think about that, how that culminates into some reduced job opportunities. Again, how can Sampson County retain its best and brightest young people and attract other people here with quality job opportunities? Under the opportunity side, which is my favorite as an economic developer, sometimes people will have described economic developers as the community's eternal optimist. And so I like the opportunities part of the SWOT analysis. Of course, you have a strong agricultural base here, really strong part of the economy. How can that be expanded and added on to? Improving some workforce development opportunities and education opportunities, and some manufacturing expansion. How can we invest in that for the future? Under the threat side, these are things that are on the horizon that the community must plan for to mitigate the risk of these threats. For example, I mentioned infrastructure and looking at that in the future and how can that be managed. Natural disasters, that's really a part of this part of North Carolina, but how can the community be more resilient long-term in the face of natural disasters? Planning for growth. We'll talk about long-range planning for growth. Sampson County has a real opportunity to get ahead of growth and make sure the community grows in a way that maintains the character of place for the reasons that you all want to call this home. Just think about that. And also with agriculture, some of the animal disease impact, the things that can significantly impact the agricultural industry, those are threats on the horizon to plan for. So again, some of the information that you provided us fed into the SWOT analysis, and it's really that base of the strategic plan, that asset-based approach. I want to thank everyone from the community who participated in the survey. We had an outstanding response. Thanks to all of you that shared it. I'm going to share just a couple of highlights, and I'll tell you later how you can access the full strategic plan and the full results. One of the things we asked was the most important investment the county could make for long-term sustainable growth. And the number one answer, education and workforce development. That aligns perfectly with the company's needs for talent, for long-term talent pipeline. But number two, quality of life amenities. We define that as retail, dining, shopping amenities. So you all want quality of place. We call it placemaking in economic development. Sometimes we talk about making a place sticky so that people stick to it, making a place sticky. If you are big readers, there's a great book on place attachment and placemaking called This Is Where You Belong. The author is Melody Wardick. It's a great book to read about how to make your place sticky and create some place attachment. But number three is business sites. So the community, citizens across Sampson County recognize the importance of having space for business to grow. And you'll see others as it goes on down. But I really thought it was important to call out the education, quality of life, and business sites. Another question we asked, kind of similar to that, was to rank economic development strategies. Number one, diversify the economy. So I live in Western North Carolina, where we had 3 eggs in one basket: textiles, furniture, and tobacco, and our basket got disrupted. Sampson County has a very strong agricultural sector, but think about how you can have and. It's not either or, it's both and diversify into other business sectors. Education and workforce came up next, then existing business and supporting startups. Existing businesses and small business are the foundations of a local economy. And think about how we can attract those here. We have strategies for those. And then amenities shows up here as well, that placemaking investment. What does success look like in Sampson County? We ask you to choose 3 of these. High-paying, quality jobs, more job opportunities for the youth to stay here or for people to have an improved quality of life. Schools came up next as what does success look like? Quality schools, and that feeds into that education and workforce development. Then diversification, infrastructure that keeps pace with growth. So thinking about how Sampson County can grow strategically, but grow within its capacity and its ability to develop capacity for the future. So we also had a business survey, so thank you to everyone who filled out the business survey results. We asked some similar questions, also some different ones, but a few similar ones to business. And this is one I like to ask is, why are they here? Why did your company locate in Sampson County? We started including the first answer choice maybe about 8 years ago, and we have found it is typically the number one answer, especially for smaller communities and rural places. They have a personal or some sort of personal hometown connection to this place. They grew up here. Their parents moved here. They went to summer camp nearby. They may have went to school nearby. They have some personal connection. So when we think about marketing Sampson County externally and telling the story of this place, it'll be in the stories of people. People connect with other people's stories. Just think at night when you are doom scrolling on your phone, what catches your attention? It's people's stories. It's the story of an entrepreneur that started a business. It is the story of somebody that moved somewhere and has an interesting life. It's a personal story. So when we talk about marketing Sampson County and telling its story, a lot of it will be through personal connection. Then after that, that geographic location, you're in a real sweet spot in the Mid-Atlantic. Some moved here because there was some available space. This is why it's important, again, on the real estate aspect of economic development, having that space available. They have a really good cost of doing business, reasonable cost of doing business, access to customers and suppliers. So just think about why, and this is an exercise where I love to give homework. Here's some homework for you. The next time you're out and about in the county and you run into somebody, maybe in a store visit, just say, why is your business here? What caused you to locate your business here? It's a good conversation starter. We asked about challenges to growing their business. Number one, workforce. And wage pressure was right there with it. workforce training, housing for workforce. You can take all the top 4 related to workforce challenges. And this was not news or unique to us, because workforce is, again, the #1 concern of companies, but for all 4 to be at the top. And housing is a hot topic wherever we go, because people need a place to live. And if you're going to retain workers here or attract new workers, and the housing conversation changes in some places. It may be about multifamily, it may be senior housing, it may be workforce housing. In some places, there's no executive housing. Executives live somewhere else and drive in, right? So the housing conversation changes, but it's always near the top and important. This is another question we like to ask is for businesses. What are your plans over the next 2 to 3 years? That answer choice, none of the above, has only become #1 in the last several months due to uncertainty. Usually we see expansion or, sell my business, something else is, near the top. None of the above means that they're just sitting tight right now. They're just sitting tight and thinking about their plans for the future. It's a great time for you to talk to them about the resources that are available to help them not only sustain their business, but grow it. But look at #2. 1/3 of the companies that responded say that they plan to expand at their current location. That's great news, right? That's great news. But look right below that, not as many, but expand outside. That's an opportunity to retain other expansions in Sampson County. We ask them questions like citizens, what are the most important investments the county could make? #1 for them, quality of life. Why? It impacts their ability to recruit and retain talented people. Then after that, space, utilities, education and workforce development are right up there too. So you see, businesses rank similar to general citizens about things they want to see invested in this community. We ask them about success. #1 again is diversification. Then jobs, high quality paying jobs. Retention of youth, that goes to the workforce and schools. There's a lot of alignment between what citizens want and what businesses say they want, which is great. Sometimes we have surveys like this in community and they're really far apart, and that makes strategic planning consultants, it makes our job a little bit harder. But in this case, there's a lot of alignment. And I think that gives a clear indication to leaders in this room about what citizens and business want to see happen in this community. So let's talk about the strategic plan. We'll lead off with vision statement. Having a clear and concise vision for the future is important. What is a vision statement? It's the desired future state. It's the desired future state, where you want to be. And I'm going to call out some key words. Prosperous future. Prosperity was a central theme in our discussions with many of you throughout this planning process. A prosperous future, powered by strategic partnerships, the recognition that you cannot do it alone. County government cannot do it alone. City government cannot. The Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Group, tourism. Nobody can do it alone. It's going to take strategic partnerships. Where economic growth enhances quality of life. If I asked each of you to define quality of life, I would get 80-some different answers, right? But you all know it when you see it, feel it, touch it, right? To enhance quality of life, preserving the unique character of the community. You know this place needs to grow because you're losing people, but you want it to grow in a way that makes it still feel the same, right, in many ways. The things that you like about it, the connected community, the small town feel, that you know your neighbors, right? The agricultural beauty of this community. Think of the ways that you want it to, the character and the unique ways you want it to stay, but how can it grow and still keep some of those wonderful qualities? The vision. The mission is how you're going to get there, how you're going to achieve that future state, and this is for the Economic Development Department, to drive sustainable growth. This is a long-term prospect. You heard the openings of the chair at the podium. This is planting a seed for that oak tree that is for the future. sustainable growth by retaining business, number one, keeping what you have here and helping them grow, attracting new business, that's a diversification piece that is so desired by citizens and business, supporting entrepreneurs, people to start up in this community, start businesses that can grow here, expanding the community's capacity, the capacity for growth, infrastructure, even the capacity for leadership development, I'll say, and then promoting the community as a vibrant place to live, work, and invest. A vibrant place. Think about that. The word vibrant or vibrancy came up a lot in our discussions. A vibrant place to live, work, and invest. I'm going to dive into each one of these goals, and I'm going to talk at the goal and strategy level and give you some example. I will encourage you to read the entire strategic plan. If adopted tonight and adopted, it will be made public tomorrow on the Economic Development website. You'll be able to read the entire plan. You have a summary at your seat. So I'm going to hit the highlights this evening. The first goal is about connections. In places that, again, are like Sampson County, I live in a very rural place. I've lived in a rural place my whole life. It's important to have very strong connections in those partnerships to connect the county, municipalities, and businesses all working together to advance community and economic development. Under these strategies, what are some things you can do to build connections? Just what you're doing in this room. Turning out together to talk about your shared vision and how you're going to work as a team going forward. So the strategic plan has several recommendations on how to build on these connections. Long-range planning. Sampson County has an opportunity to do long-range planning to make sure, again, this growth is consistent with your vision for the future. To make sure your leaders are connected. They participated in an economic development workshop earlier today, municipal and county leaders, to make sure they're connected. I've been working in economic development more than 25 years, and I will tell you the only difference between communities that are succeeding and those that are not is leadership. That's it. Because when everybody is pulling together, you can do amazing things, right? And then keeping stakeholders and allies advised and informed of economic development activities. It's doing things like this. It's also reaching out in other ways through social media and all the ways that you connect with people. The second goal is about business, attracting, retaining, supporting business that will expand job opportunities. Go back to the citizen survey. Well-paying jobs. Businesses, well-paying jobs. So businesses that will expand those job opportunities. Number one strategy, business retention and expansion. The majority of new investment and job creation in a community comes from existing business expansion, the number one strategy. Then marketing Sampson County to attract from the outside, to diversify the economy, to provide more diverse job opportunities. Think about the business cycle, right? To make sure you got businesses that are expanding and working through the business cycle at different rates. So what does it mean to market Sampson County? Think about reaching out to your partners, and one of my favorite sayings is tell your story so often that others tell it for you. Tell your story so often that others tell it for you. I will say that and now that you will spend an hour at least this evening, you are now all ambassadors of Sampson County's Economic Development Program and are charged with helping to tell the wonderful story. Then helping to scale small businesses, helping them start up. This can be as simple as the how-to toolkits, how to start a business in Sampson County, and connecting them to other resources to help them not only start up but to scale. And so maybe the 1 or 2 person shop becomes a 10-person shop or a 15-person shop. In this community, you don't have the workforce or the infrastructure for a 1,000 employee operation, nor would it maybe fit with your community's vision for the future. But definitely growing that 2-person shop to a 10-person shop to a 20-person shop and scaling that small business is something that's important to this economy and also, I think, fits with the vision that you have shared with us. The next goal is about talent and workforce. And again, that important core component. Connecting business and education to strengthen that economic development, existing talent and economic development efforts to spark new initiatives. Economic development can be that liaison between education and business, can share the current needs that business has for the workforce and projected future needs, and can create some of those business and education partnerships and strengthen them. When we think about developing clusters in economic development, one of the legs of that stool of the cluster, one of the legs, supply chain is one, centers of innovation, but talent and workforce is the most important leg on that stool, and economic development can be the connector. Under promoting career opportunities, think about expanding apprenticeships and internships. Young people want to see it, feel it, touch it in terms of jobs. They want to see the work environment, and they can do that through internships and apprenticeships. And sometimes we think of apprenticeships more in the industry sector, but you can have apprenticeships in graphic art, or you can have internships, of course, in healthcare. Think of all the ways that you can expand career awareness. We've done surveys with middle school and high school students, and we've asked them about the #1 influencing factors on their career choice. It's still parents. I kind of didn't think they listened to parents anymore, but I was wrong. Parents is still the #1 influencer of career choice. So think about how you can promote local career opportunities, not only to young people, but to parents in your community. So think about open houses at businesses. Think about creating ways to share information about the job opportunities that are here to raise career awareness. The next goal is about the real estate piece. And oftentimes this is what we think a lot about in economic development, the real estate piece. Again, every business, no matter the size or the business sector, needs a home, whether it's on Main Street, whether it's in a co-work facility, whether it is in a business park, needs a space. And when we think about space, most expanding companies want an available building. About 80% prefer or want an existing building. And Sampson County does not have any buildings for advanced manufacturing, for the ceiling height that's required in particular. So you're missing out on a large part of your prospect pie, if you will. Now, after a building, they want qualified and ready sites. What does that mean? That means the site has already had due diligence done on it, an environmental test, a soil test, site planning done. And sometimes they even have more preparation. We call it a pad ready or certified and pad ready site. So think about how, again, just think about in terms of if we're going to buy a house, what do? You look for a house that has a lot of information, it's been inspected, right? You have a lot of risk that's been lowered. Companies want the same thing, lower risk. So we have recommended a site identification study. We've recommended a long-range plan for site and business park development. You have very limited land left in your park in Clinton, and the park in Newton Grove needs some more infrastructure. So think about how those can be enhanced, but where's the next business development opportunity in Sampson County? But we also talk about other space too. We talk about space for small business and entrepreneurs. Where's your startup space? Think about how other places have incubators, accelerators, maker space, co-work space, this space that can help entrepreneurs connect with one another and grow. And so we talked a lot about in the strategic plan next steps for site development and real estate development. And then supporting some investments in placemaking and tourism assets. Tourism is an important part of the economy because it brings outside money in. Other people's money, right? Outside money into your economy. So how can you develop more of your tourism assets for outdoor recreation in particular? And how can you invest in some of the placemaking? Remember, citizens talked about amenities, for example. These are things that not only benefit your citizens here, but can draw other people to your community to spend their money here and bring more outside money in. So the role of the Economic Development Organization is to provide some market studies and information that will help developers and the public sector make strategic public investments for the future. And think about elevating the Economic Development Organization to be a leader among the Southeast in North Carolina. So think about the work of the strategic plan. I'm hitting on some highlights here. There's a lot of work in the strategic plan, and it's definitely going to need people power and financial power. A lot of economic development is people power. It's relationship building, it's working with existing business, it's meeting with entrepreneurs, it's problem solving, it's providing solutions. So there's people power. And we've recommended over time to expand the economic development staff, one, to include somebody that can focus full-time on existing business retention and expansion. Again, that internal strategy that's so very important. And then to expand to talent into the marketing area eventually over time. We'd love to see the economic development department over time have 3 staff people. So why is marketing important? It's telling that story. There's people power. But beyond that, there are financial resources that are needed. Think about the things that I mentioned already, which is investing in real estate, which is investing in talent resources and training and education, investing in marketing and communications. So there's a lot of resource needs for economic development. It's important to measure the return on investment in economic development projects, right? So someone mentioned earlier about residential development not paying for public services. Across this state and across the country, communities will sometimes perform what is called a cost of services study. And those studies typically find, you can find many of them on the internet, typically find that for every dollar a local government spends on a residential housing unit, a residence, for every dollar it spends on services to it, that house will return 60 cents, 70 cents, 72 cents, 58, something less than $1. Think about all the services that go to residential development. Schools, human resources, public safety, right? On the contrary, for every dollar a government spends on commercial and industrial development, it will return $2, $2.50, $1.80, something over the dollar. It's a net generator of revenue back. It takes some services, but it doesn't take the level of services that residential development does. Agriculture is also a positive to the community because large farms don't require a lot of public service. So the agriculture will return well over $1 to a government as well. That's why bedroom communities just don't pay over the long term, right? There was a county in South Carolina several years ago that did one of these cost of services studies. And they found that the average new home value to break even in their community, this was several years ago, was going to be $800,000 per home to break even on the public services that it required. This is why determining the return on investment is so important. The Economic Development Department, I believe, is the only department that returns money back to government in this way. The businesses that they recruit, the expansions they facilitate, is new revenue that then can provide services so that the whole burden is not on citizens. Without commercial, industrial, and agricultural development, citizens will be forced to pay so much more to help cover what is now a deficit in residential development. So ensuring there's this return on investment, which is really very important. So the strategic plan is very long, lots of pages. There's lots of work to be done. Where do you get started on day one, right? Where do you get started? Understanding that Sampson County has a lot of financial concerns right now at the county. There is not a huge surplus just sitting on the sideline ready to be spent on economic development. So where do you get started today on limited resources so that you can take action on the strategic plan right away? Because this is not going to gather any dust on a shelf. The first thing out of the gate is the proactive business retention expansion program. First thing out of the gate, ensuring your local companies can stay here. Then working with them on some connections, bringing some lunch and learn programs to them, and helping them celebrate the success that they have here, national manufacturing. Then start working on some site and development. This is a lot of networks and connections and people power and people time and resources. Then in year 2, start moving toward an expanded budget for economic development with that focus on the return on investment to the county, working on that long-range product development plan for sites and buildings, working on the website updates to communicate. By the way, when companies are asked where they get their information for economic development, the number one answer is the website. Here's another piece of homework. I love to give homework. If you have not looked at the Economic Development website, do that. Go to samsonedc.com and look at the website and just see how your community is being promoted, right? And see how, ask yourself, how would an outsider look at this? What would they think about how we're presenting ourselves? And then there's some other things in year 2, marketing and communications plan. And then as you're building momentum for the future, you've gotten some success from your strategic plan, then you start working toward larger things like maybe a spec building or shell building study. Why is that important? It's a marketing strategy and tool, again, because 80% or more of companies either want or prefer a building. There's a great model near here in Wilson County, Wilson Properties, their development nonprofit arm, has a best practice model of building development. So great, a place to go learn from them and to take bring their best practices back here. And then you would just build on that with some more research and investment in the future. So how are you going to measure it? It's important to measure. If you, as citizens in this room, are investing in economic development, what do you want to see out of it? What are the measuring sticks? What do you want reported back to you? You want reported back to you what companies are coming here, what was expanding, what companies have we retained in this community, who is starting up in this community, what are the marketing tactics that we're using, and how are we raising awareness of Sampson County as a choice location for business and for people. One of the best measures, I think, is this last one, existing business satisfaction. If any of you are in business and you get customer satisfaction surveys, that's like the best indicator, right? If your customer says you're doing a good job. Same thing with existing business. Ask them, how satisfied are you with Sampson County as a business location? How do you do that? You do it on a business survey every year. That's a great indicator. These are program metrics, measures of the program. We advocate you should also measure progress of the organization. In order to carry out this strategic plan, you need a healthy economic development organization. That's funding, it's compliance, it's advisory board satisfaction with the organization. Every community should be measuring community well-being. All of the work that you do on the program side of economic development should, over the long term, make a positive effect on community well-being. But you do not move the needle on the poverty level or per capita income in the 3 years of this strategic plan. That's a 10, 15, 20-year needle move. You have to start today to get there, and you need to know where you are today to measure for the future. But you should start measuring community well-being if you are not already. Those are just a few examples. I was with I'll tell you, I was at the City of Goldsboro City Council meeting last night, and they've been talking about launching their first ever community survey. I know a lot of local governments that will survey all of their citizens broadly every 3 years and ask them questions about safety, about education, about health outcomes. They'll ask about a lot of things that help inform overall community well-being. So think about measures of the economic development program, but how they relate to overall community well-being. So where do we go from here? Hopefully adoption of the strategic plan and then launch. I like to say that planning is the easy part and the doing is the hard part. So Ray, Jordan, how many people are on your staff?
Just me.
Just Ray. Okay, so just Ray. So the doing is the hard part. Ray is going to need a lot of help. You all are now invested in the strategic plan because you have spent an hour of your time in this room, many of you much more because you were on the steering committee, you were part of an interview process, you participated in a survey, so you are now all a Ray's team, okay? So right now, you now have 85 people or so working for you. You're all a Ray's team, you're all ambassadors for economic development. You're all going to share the good story about Sampson County to everyone that you meet. You're going to be a part of the economic development team. So we're going to launch it, definitely measure it, and then update it. The strategic plan is not static, it is dynamic. Any of you in business have a business plan? This is like a business plan. Do you write your business plan and then not change it? No. You're constantly tweaking your business plan because of market forces that change, new opportunities. So we suggest that you revisit the strategic plan every year and make course corrections. Because after we leave this room today, there may be some new opportunity that pops up tomorrow that we never knew about, right? Some new economic shift. So it's a dynamic document that should always be in motion and updated to be reflective of the current times and the opportunities that you have.